elsewhere should be returned to Athens, where there's been a new museum built for them. You think they should be. Why is that important?
The Parthenon sculptures were not made as stand-alone objects. They were made as part of a building that still stands in the middle of Athens today. They reflect a people, they reflect a very ancient history, they reflect a religion that can only be understood when put together as a coherent whole. There is a narrative there. It is a story. The story, to be understood deeply and completely, must be brought together again.
Okay, the new book is The Parthenon Enigma. Joan Conley, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Again, the major developments of the day. Senate Republicans again blocked a bid by Democrats to restore benefits for the long-term unemployed. Competition began in skiing, skating, and snowboard events at the Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia, one day before the opening ceremonies. And Wall Street rebounded from losses earlier this week. The Dow Industrials gained 188 points.
On the NewsHour Online right now, revelations made by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden have given reporters a lot to chew on in the past several months, but there are trade-offs between informing the public and jeopardizing critical intelligence capabilities. Our chief foreign affairs correspondent, Margaret Warner, sat down with two journalists from the German magazine Der Spiegel to get their take on covering the international spy scandal that has led a lot of Americans to rethink the fine line between privacy and security. You can read her blog and watch the video on our world page. And Stephen Hawking had his fellow physicists scratching their heads when he declared last week that there are no black holes in the universe. Our science team explains what he means by that on our homepage. All that and more is on our website, newshour.pbs.org.
And that's the NewsHour for tonight. On Friday, we break down the latest job numbers and talk with the author of the book behind the new film, The Monuments Men. I'm Gwen Eiffel.
And I'm Judy Woodruff. We'll see you online and again here tomorrow evening with Mark Shields and David Brooks, among others. For all of us here at the PBS NewsHour, thank you and good night.
Major funding for the PBS
To the February 6th meeting of the Capitola Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Welch?
Here.
Commissioner Graves?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Ruth?
Here.
And Chairperson Ortiz.
Here. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Now's the time for oral communications, and are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Planning commissioners? Staff?
No.
Nope. All right. Then now is the time for public communication on anything that's not on tonight's agenda. So if you've come to speak with us about something that is not on tonight's agenda, now is the time. Ready? Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, City Council members.
This is the Planning Commission. Just so you know, I don't want you to waste a big speech on a body that may not be able to do for you what you're wanting.
Well, actually, it's fine.
Okay.
Because being a tester and being a member of this community before Gail's Bakery, before everything was here, and after the other night's Planning Commission, and people don't understand about systemic poisoning. Right when I walk up to your grounds right here, this is what we call systemic poisoning of groundwater, of waste. But the main thing is right now is when someone gets abused and neglected, for the record, on the record, since this is a very unique city and state we live in, that I've been attacked, I've been neglected by some of the most highest levels of attorneys and judicial system here. I have some papers here I'd like to give to our dear mayor here, because we're in a water situation, and after listening to a one-sided view, and just recently I've contacted Verizon, I've contacted Facebook, they've been very, very nice to me because of my permanent total disabilities, because systemic poisoning will actually kill me. I have many doctors' excuses from my primary care physician to get out of here, and I've been nothing but stalled. But then I'm in good faith. I'm given, a couple attorneys, and people who's wronged me for over possibly a couple $100,000, but then it's high density that's happening in planning.
Is there something you'd like us to
planning?
For you?
When we start planning, we must think about high density, because high density and compaction and redoing everything. Because I met a man from Kohl's, and he got a ticket, and he was visiting from Los Angeles. He goes, "There's so much signage you can't see anywhere. I just got a ticket, because there was no place to park."
Well, thank you. If you would like to give that to one of the staff members, then we'll pass it on to the mayor for you.
Can I sit down for a minute? I am permanently, totally disabled.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And we'll proceed with the meeting if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there someone else who would like? Thank you. Someone else who would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public section. I just wanted to mention, this is my second meeting as chair, so I've forgotten to read something, and it is, this meeting is cablecast live on Charter Communication Cable TV Channel 8, and it's being recorded to be replayed at 12 noon on Saturday following the meeting, excuse me, on Community Television of Santa Cruz County, Charter Channel 71, Comcast Channel 25. Meetings can also be viewed by the city's website, www.cityofcapitola.org, and our technician tonight is Victor Herman. As a reminder, please turn off your cell phones during the meeting, and if you wouldn't mind signing your name when you come up to the podium. Thank you. Moving on, we'll go to commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments tonight? All right. Staff?
Yes, I have one comment. It's my honor to introduce you to Ryan Safety, our newest planner on staff. Ryan will serve as the new assistant planner to staff and work between the hours of 1 and 5, covering the counter in the afternoon and working on projects. Ryan was born and raised in Ventura County and interned with the City of Camarillo's Community Development Department for 2 summers before he joined us. He graduated from Cal Poly SLO City and Regional Planning Program with cum laude honors this past June. It's my honor to welcome Ryan to our team and to be serving this commission.
We're very excited about having him, too. I hope your stay here is a happy one.
Thank you.
I hope we don't beat you up too much in Capitola, as we're well known to do. Any other comments for staff?
That is it. Thank you.
All right, great. Then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the meeting of January 16th. Are there any additions or corrections to that? And if not, do I have a motion?
We did have some earlier communications. We needed to amend the commissioners' votes on the consent agenda. It was incorrectly reported that 2 different motions were made. It was passed as a full agenda. Motion made by Commissioner Welch, seconded by Commissioner Roth, both items. And I believe, Chairman, that you indicated right after the meeting that you needed to amend and abstain from the second item. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Those are the amendments that I know of. Any others?
So I would move approval with those changes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstained.
Opposed? Abstained? Do we have to, on every single vote, do we have to, do I have to give you a tally of them?
Not when they're unanimous.
Okay, great. Even an abstention? All right. All right.
New state rule.
New state rule. Another new state rule. And now we come to the consent calendar, and these are items that are voted on in one motion unless someone wants to speak about them. Someone either who's here tonight in the audience or a planning commissioner. And they are the items on 4A and B. Is there anyone from the commission that would like to pull any of these items?
I just have one question on 4B, is whether Loma Vista Mobile Home was noticed on that change?
All right. So that answers our question. Is there, we will pull the first item A. I'm assuming you're here for B. B, sorry, B. And is there anyone else here for item A that would like to pull item A?
Madam Chairperson, I'd just like to make a comment. The Star Center in the Begonia Plaza, this is not the first time before this body and the council that tenants have wanted to expand. And many of you may remember when the aquarium and pet store were up there and they expanded. They didn't do what this applicant is asking with removal of the door. But when it came around a few months later, after they were all set up in the 2 sections, they came back to the commission and to the council trying to get 2 signs when in fact they combined as one. Both of these centers have master sign permits, and I'm just hope that the staff's aware of that and will guide the applicant. That's my only comment.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion on this, on the remaining item on the consent calendar?
I move approval of item A.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we will take the remaining item.
Yeah, it seems that there may have been consent. Someone may have wanted to pull off consent item A.
I have my hand up. I just want to be gracious and let you speak, because I wanted to pull number A with Verizon and B.
Okay.
With Toyota.
Well, then
Please.
we will need to, thank you. We will need to then take back our vote and open it up for public comment. So let's go ahead and have a short staff report on item A, and so that everyone listening knows what we're talking about.
Thank you. The application for 1440 41st Avenue is a design permit application for an exterior remodel. The applicant is proposing to change the existing door opening to windows. They have they've expanded in their space to two suites, so therefore they do not need the second door anymore, and they'd like it to be a window.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions of staff? Okay, I'll open this up to the public. Anyone who'd like to speak on item A on the consent calendar, please step forward.
After being disabled and buying a medically necessary adaptive vehicle from Toyota, I could only see with...
Sir, this is not the Toyota. This has to do with the Verizon.
Okay, I was just off the phone with Verizon. I'm going through a medical hardship. And right now, since Verizon and all the telecom services have the right, and I do say the right, was just on the news just moments ago earlier, that they can charge fees to anybody they want, as in from Facebook to Google to anybody else, because it's a monopoly, and most of all they're calling it cronyism, a capitalistic cronyism.
Okay, thank you.
And basically, and we never think about, we think about carcinogens in the air.
Sir, if you could confine your comments to doors having to do with our local Verizon, that would really save everybody a lot of time. So we're talking about doors.
Okay, so when we talk about doors, we talk about what type of doors. Are they single pane? Are they double pane? If they're double pane, what are the type of gases and inert gases in between them? Because I just did a few things to my mom's house before selling them, and did a lot of research into the gases they put inside of them, because there's totally includes, because that right there is systemic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Are there any other comments having to do with item A on the consent calendar? If not, I'll bring it back to the commissioners and we'll have another vote. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Well, I was just about to say that I would like to have the commission's wishes on whether I have no choice one way or the other whether we should take item B now or wait. Maybe we should ask how many people are here tonight to speak to item B on the consent calendar. If you just raise your hand, because I want to have as few people as possible have to wait. How many people are here under the public hearing A, McGregor Park? Well, it looks like it's about all right. So the tradition is that we take the pulled item to the end of at the end of our calendar, and it will be heard after the public hearings, or during public hearings. All right. So we'll move on to public hearing item A, 1550 McGregor Drive. This is a design permit, tree permit, and coastal development permit for a public park, a skate park, a dog park, a children's park, in the public facilities visitor serving designation. Staff report, please.
Okay, thank you. Before you is an application for a coastal development permit, tree removal permit, and design permit for the future multi-use park at 1550 McGregor. This is located next to New Brighton State Beach, and the South Pacific Railroad tracks wind along the south end of the property. I want to make a clarification tonight of a staff error. The park is located in a dual zoning district. It is a public facilities zoning district as well as visitors serving. Within the public facilities district, any governmental facility is an allowed use. I erred in not seeing that within the visitors serving district it is a conditional use, a park. So, and within the visitors serving development standards, it is required that any allowed use under a dual district be treated as a conditional use within visitors serving. So because of that error, we will be reviewing this application tonight, opening the public hearing, and then returning and getting your direction tonight, but also returning during the March meeting to make a motion and noticing this correctly is also a conditional use permit. So my apology.
So the vote will be at the March meeting?
March meeting we'll vote. Okay. So Arnone and Associates was hired to develop conceptual plans for this park. There originally were 3 different conceptual plans which were narrowed down to one plan due to input from different user groups and the city staff. The City Council reviewed the existing conceptual plan on November 14th and directed staff to move forward with Planning Commission review. This is a multi-use park that includes the pump track, the skate park, a dog park, a children's play area, and also a parking space, as well as a seating node for picnicking and spending time. The site plans show the locations of future uses within the park, but do not go to the level of exact location of jumps, rails, and tracks. These will be further developed as funds are raised through public-private partnerships for the park. So here's the layout. There's a variety of fencing proposed around the different areas of the park based on the uses. The wire fence will be around the dog park, the black vinyl clad chain link fence around the skate park, because you can fall into it and not hurt yourself as badly, and then the split rail fence around the play area and then along the street for aesthetics. The different finishes for the ground. The pump track will be on soil, mulch in the children's play area. The dog park will also be soil, decomposed granite in the seating area, asphalt in the skate park, and then a gravel parking lot. As you can see within these plans, some of the existing trees, the majority of existing trees will be maintained. The dog park will have areas that are shaded, as well as there are nice oaks along the frontage there that will be maintained. There are 3 eucalyptus trees that are currently in the location of the skate park, which will be removed. And in compliance with our tree replacement requirements, 7 Laurus nobilis trees will be planted around the future seating area, providing shade. Also, a parking study was completed that identified future demand up to 26 spaces for the park. There are 30 spaces proposed, 2 of which are ADA. I sent out an email earlier today with a last-minute request, and it's actually good that we can look at this again during the next meeting we have this time. Hope Service has requested that the city consider a location for a donation pod. These pods are they can be temporary in nature or be there for a longer duration based on the city's management plan. But they're a collection of recycled materials for used clothing, household goods, and e-waste. It's a donation drop-off center. There's no exchange of money at these locations. They are manned, so there's people working there between the hours of 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. accepting donations 7 days a week. This, when this idea arose, we thought maybe because there isn't staff at the park 24 throughout the day, it might be nice to have a manned use out there as well to keep an eye on things. So we're not suggesting a specific place for this to be placed within the park. It would need to be accessed, to be picked up and removed occasionally and switched out. So we were thinking around the parking area, hopefully not taking up a parking space, but to the side of the parking area. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission review this application, open a public hearing, and provide direction on the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for staff?
So we have not actually identified where that pod would be at this point if in fact it was approved?
No, the discussion has been around the parking area, but no exact location. You're welcome to provide us with direction on that this evening.
Other questions? What's the size of the eucalyptus trees to be removed?
Steve, are you?
It's probably on the plans, but I've been gone and didn't have a chance to look at that.
I think one is a 26-inch. They're quite large, to be honest with you. There's a 36-inch and a 28-inch being removed. One's a double, so they just measure the larger of the two on the double. So 36 and 28.
And what's the test for, a CEQA, an environmental impact on that number of trees, that size tree? I mean, if an applicant that weren't the city were to come to us and ask for that to be removed, would we ask for an impact report on something like that, or?
It's not a native tree, the eucalyptus. We would go through the tree ordinance with the applicant and go through the process of them hiring an arborist.
I was thinking more of the monarch butterfly,
for habitat.
The habitat.
If at this point we haven't done a CEQA review on these 3 trees.
Yeah.
Or a study.
I just was wondering
Given that, most of the eucalyptus groves that do have a habitat are part of a larger grove. These are kind of 3 single trees of that ilk out by their self in the middle of the parking lot.
Sure. Okay.
Certainly the oak grove habitat and there's eucalyptus down farther into the grove that I think are part of that habitat. I don't know if it's riparian or not. It gets to riparian at some point. But I think the 3 trees, unless somebody has other information out there, do not contribute to that grove at all.
Right. Thank you.
Gail, there was a previous study, I believe, done by an arborist for the entire site prior to selling off the parcel to the water district on the side. I do recall seeing that in a previous file.
Okay. So, thank you. Any other questions for staff?
I do have a question for Steve. Around the pump track,
yes,
I see that there are a couple of pedestrian openings. Is there any kind of a barrier between the pump track itself and the fencing, or will people be walking in and sort of onto the pump track?
I think it will be open there, although I do think we will need to put some kind of pathway along there so you're not walking in where the bikes are. So right behind the fence we would have some kind of decomposed granite or at least a level walking area. But there would not be any area, fence or any barrier between the pathway and the track as it's proposed here.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, then. We will open it up for the public hearing, and anyone who's here tonight to speak about the McGregor Drive Park, please step forward.
As belonging to, growing up here and belonging to a couple anonymous, that I can't say groups, and I was approached by a couple people that, in my opinion, and it was your decision, possibly when it came up to you, that they would build a skate park, costing over a couple of $1 million. It was denied. But then I have friends in Costa Rica who are doing recycled skate parks, number one. And number two, when I see all the scaping done, just like at the Planning Commission, we have too many trees. Where are we going to get the water? And if we're going to take out the eucalyptus trees, that's right next to the riparian corridor. and by laying in all this concrete, and again, nothing to all my fellow surfers, skateboarders, and my professionals around the world, especially in Costa Rica, has done a lot of recycling. And this is right here was very disappointing because the first skate park here was made by a gentleman named Ed DeRosa right across the street on the freeway, and with a half pipe and everything. We're in a new generation. These kids, for the small people, they want a pump track, of course, but then they're going to be jumping over fences. But then my thing is, my main thing is, what's the cost? And
there's a skate park in here.
Oh, but how big is it?
Well,
does it have a half pipe with some vertical?
It's as big as we can afford to do.
I need to. I'm a person of square footage.
I think it's a good start for us.
Oh, yes.
It's a good start.
Yes. That's all I got to say. But please look into what Costa Rica is doing of recycled skate parks.
Okay.
That way we don't poison the land we live and drink on.
Thank you. Is there someone else here tonight who would like to speak about this? Thought I saw a hand go up before over here. Guess not. I'll close the public hearing section of it and bring it back to the commission.
I have one suggestion. And Katie, if you could put actually this is the plan I wanted to point out. Since this seems to be the major pathway into all four different facilities.
You might want a mic. I'm sure. Do we have a mic?
Can you hear me? Okay. These are the restrooms up here. We've got the handicap spaces.
You know what? We got the guy come. I knew he was coming. The guy from. I can't hear you. The guys at home can't hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to see if he was paying attention.
You can use the pointer and sit at your desk if you want.
So you got your fancy pointer?
Yeah, it's just you push that little button and it gets lost in the.
Oh, too bad.
Damn. Doesn't work anyway.
Right here. Okay. All right. This is the major pathway into all four uses: the dog park, skate park, the tot lot, and the pump track. The handicap spaces are sitting right in here. And at least my thought is we're not going to have people utilizing the handicap spaces that are going to utilize the skateboard park or the pump track. They're going to be mostly utilizing the dog park. So why don't we take the two restrooms here and move them down here close to the handicap spaces and the walkway entrance? To me, that makes a lot more sense. That's all.
Maybe staff might want to comment on that possibility.
Yeah, I think this is Mike Arnone, the designer here. So they were put there for ease of service, since they will be need to be serviced on a regular basis, and probably not be trying to put them somewhere where there's more of a gathering spot. We could certainly look at moving them if that's the will of the commission. I don't know if it's that big a deal to us or one way or the other.
Thank you.
While Steve's up there, Steve, as you're aware, I've been in support of this whole project for a long time, still am. Between now and when they have to bring it back to us to re-advertise it right, I guess, can you give us an overlay how you think youngsters on skateboards and bikes and stuff will get from what I call the McEwen development or Cortez, Balboa, those areas, safely knowing the intersection of Park Avenue and McGregor Drive? Now, I've heard from staff, and I haven't been with staff for 30 days, that there isn't already a trail going through New Brighton State Park. But do we have a reciprocal agreement for that, and will we be able to use it in perpetuity? That's the real questions I'd like to answer between now and next time.
Okay, we do. I don't. Most of the city managers had discussions with state parks. I don't think we've had any discussions with them. That is an open pathway, but
access for people on bikes and walking this isn't the best location. We know that. We think a lot of it's going to depend on adults driving park users there. For those that do want to walk, you will be able to walk through the state park. There is an established pathway there. We will try and confirm before next meeting that if there's any agreements necessary to keep that pathway open. And besides that, I mean, there's a bike lane on McGregor. I'd say you want to be a pretty experienced bike rider to use that because of the speeds of cars on that road. So we recognize that is one of the shortfalls of this location. But as you all aware, we don't have many locations for a park of this type in the city, and that's why we're moving forward with this.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Are there any comments from the Commission about the Hope Services container? Any thoughts about that?
Well, I'm always looking for ways to encourage people to recycle. The more recycling, the better. My concern would be how much parking are we actually going to be using before we consider taking up any parking places for the pod. I'd like to maybe give it some time and see if that works, but Katie indicated that they were considering locations that would not take up any parking spaces. So I was going to recommend that we condition it that way. And then I don't have any problem with it being there myself.
Well, when they prepare the site, can't they prepare a small building pad behind a parking space or two? Just a small flat pad to put the pod?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's talked about what the area Katie's pointing to right now on the pointer on there. So one of the areas that we're looking at, you're right, we would build a pad there, and so they could come in there and service it. There's other, we've talked about moving the restrooms around and putting it where the restrooms were. That's one of the ideas. But I think along the back of the parking lot somewhere makes the most sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of it somewhere where it's, right where it's really visible, because to me that, I support Hope Services in many ways, but I feel like it's like wedging one more thing into something that is supposed to be a natural setting, and that white pod with all the color is cute, but it doesn't feel like a park to me. However, if it were all the way to the back of the parking lot, I could, if the rest of the Commission felt it fit, I could support that. I would rather see another spot for it. I don't get that this is going to be a really great spot for them anyway. I don't understand why this is a spot they desire, but maybe it was just that it's open and they given it a try.
I tell you the truth, I heard about this morning for the first time, so it was kind of new to me. But I think it's a spot that we have available, right, and we're offering it to them. They may come back and say that they don't like it there or something like that, or they might find another spot on private property. But
I would
at this
think
point,
there's better places for them that they're.
But we would like to have it as an option if it does work out.
We can consider that at the March meeting as well. Anybody else want to weigh in on that? Anything else?
I have two more comment questions, I guess. In the plan, I went back and listened to the City Council presentation of this same option, and noticed in the plan that there is a graphic for a donor plaque for the dog park, and I didn't really see where it was going to be on the plan, and so my question is there only one sign, or is there going to be possibility of an area or something like that, and where would that be?
Yeah, that was just a template for the sign that could be used for all four of the areas. I just didn't, draw all four of them. So that would, and we would probably have one. We hadn't really talked about the location, but it would probably be, at the entrance or somewhere very visible for each of the four different parks.
Okay, thank you. And then on process, I was looking for the times that the park is going to be open and all of that kind of information that we would normally see with conditional use permits, and I didn't see any of that in this plan. So I'm wondering, process-wise, tonight we give direction, in March it comes back, and it may be even on the consent calendar at that point. Where do all of those details get nailed down?
Within the next staff report, I'll add all the criteria for conditional use permit and outline what the hours of operation have been.
I will say the municipal code limits the hours for all our parks from from 6 a.m. to sunset.
Okay.
So that is part of our muni code for all the parks, unless established otherwise, is what the code says. So essentially, I think that would work here, closing it at sunset and then opening it at 6. Most people won't be there until 6, but I think that works.
And the solar lights, then, are they like have a sensor so they're on?
You guys talk up there.
It's kind of they can. There are different types of lights, but some of them, they come on in the at dusk, and they can be shut off, or they have a timer, or they have a switch system somehow. It depends on which model we go with and which light we pick.
Okay. Have we considered whether we're going to leave those lights on when the park is closed or turn them off?
Well, with the park being closed at sunset, I think the object of the lights is to allow the police department to drive by and see if there's anybody in the park. So from a security standpoint, I think that it'll be on.
Okay.
We can play with whether they're on all night or just until midnight or something like that as we see how it works operationally.
Okay. Those were all my questions.
All right, thank you. Then we will continue this to the March meeting for the remainder of the staff report and further deliberation and a decision. Steve, you sure?
I was just, it's possible to get a straw vote?
Sure.
Just because we want to try and keep this moving so we can get it built
Absolutely.
this summer, and given the 1 month delay is probably not a problem. It's not a delay at all, but we would like to work on construction drawings so we can go out to bid soon after your March
right,
meeting.
great.
So if it's possible, I would appreciate it.
I'll just ask, are there any commissioners who have any issues with this proposal? Well, it sounds like we're all in favor of it, so thank you. Good call. All right, then we'll move on to the last item on tonight's agenda, which was the item that we pulled from the consent calendar, which is the 4200 Auto Plaza Drive amendment to a design permit, conditional use permit, and sign program as part of a project to demolish an existing car dealership building and construct a new car dealership building, including a service building, car wash, and parking lot improvements in the community commercial zoning district. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortiz. Before you is the application for 4200 Auto Plaza Drive. This is an amendment to a design permit, conditional use permit, and sign program. The applicant brought in changes, a modification to add an additional 4,350 square feet to the rear corner of the building. It squares off the building. There's no, the new addition does not go beyond the rear wall or the side wall of the original design, so therefore there'll be no additional perceived massing on from the front facade. As you know, the Loma Vista Trailer Park Estates is located behind this this commercial area, and throughout the initial process with the Planning Commission, the applicant worked very closely with Loma Vista, and there were additional conditions of approval that were placed on the permit during that time. During the review, when the applicant came back, we discussed how those conditions were being met, and I'm glad to say that the car wash hasn't only moved further away from the Loma Vista estates, it is now fully enclosed, and they've agreed to put doors on the car wash, so that's a great improvement. The dumpsters have been moved to the side property line. There was a previous condition that the dumpsters not be located along the rear property line, and so the applicant has also made that modification. In looking at their design, there were also just slight modifications to the locations of doors and windows, so I wanted to bring it back as a full package and make sure that what's built on site is approved by this Planning Commission. So you've got elevations here. The front elevation is on the bottom, noted as the north elevation. And this is On the top elevation is the east elevation, which would be seen on the side, and you can see the garage door entering the service area. The rear elevation, which is the south elevation on the bottom, there are no garage doors, so that elevation will be facing the Loma Vista Estates and will hopefully act as a great buffer to any noise going on inside the mechanics. So that's the staff update, and staff recommends approval of
All right, thank you,
the
Katie.
modification.
Questions for staff?
I just want to clarify, everything was approved except for what you have outlined there, the addition in the back that you've circled the changes. Everything else is as it was approved, except for the frontage little
small modifications. The other was there was a condition of approval that the community development director would approve the location and design of the future car wash. So I asked them to, why don't we bring that in front of you this evening to get that approved as well.
Thank you.
Others? Others?
What you just spoke to is my concern, and that's condition number 15. If in fact the applicant has shown plans that they're going to have a car wash that's totally enclosed, why would we want the community development director to be able to change those plans as per number 15? It seems just counterproductive.
I agree, and I think I would suggest that we remove that condition and that it would be within the project approval of tonight's permit. So included. I had taken the original conditions of the permit and placed them here, and that was an oversight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Other questions? If not, I will open the public hearing. If there are people here to speak about this tonight, now's your chance. Come on forward.
So it looks like we're building off an old footprint. And by the way, we're talking about, aren't we not talking about the used Toyota car lot, not the brand new car lot, because the new car lot, car washes is attached, and any car wash that's ever put in, or any park or anything that has to do with fecal waste or systemic poisoning, needs to have a vapor barrier down to the soot level. I used to work for the operating engineers as a helper. So we do test drilling and percolation holes to see the compaction, because if you don't have a vapor barrier underneath that, everything is going to be draining in. Now that's called what we were talking about at the last Planning Commission.
You can be assured that these people are going to be held to the highest environmental standards there is.
I would kindly demand that they would, on the record, because Mother Earth is only giving us one chance.
One.
And just for one thing, I've been a sea explorer all my life from a Navy SEAL, and there's an emblem by the American Boy Scouts that goes far back to, and no disrespect, to police our police, to police our city councils, to police our federal government, to police our states, but most of all, the ring that stands for us and our emblem is universal, to protect Mother Nature and all of mankind, because the arrow is the world traveling so fast that we're just thinking and not making the right decisions.
I appreciate those comments. Okay. I do.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Who else is here tonight? If you wouldn't mind stating your name and if you feel comfortable signing.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Pat Trimble, Board Secretary, Loma Vista Estates Owners Association. Commissioners, we want to thank you for keeping Loma Vista's interests in the forefront. We appreciate your concern for our senior community. Thank you. Almost 1 year ago, we met to discuss the new Toyota dealership and noise issues with the old dealership. I'm pleased to report that Toyota's been a good neighbor. They've reduced noise, and they've acted responsibly. That gives us confidence to say that Toyota's requested amendments to the new dealership design are acceptable to Loma Vista. We wish Toyota all success with the new dealership. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you.
You can't imagine how happy that makes us. Thank you so much for speaking. Anyone else tonight?
Members of the Planning Commission, for the record, my name is Richard Cartel, and I'm with Autopilot Development Services, representative for the Toyota store. First, we want to thank the Planning Commission for and the past stipulations were provided because it gave us a foundation to build upon. We want to thank the Loma Vista Homeowners Association. We had some very good dialogue with them and very constructive points that we incorporated into our plan. And finally, I'd like to really thank the staff. They've been very, very helpful in getting this project moving forward. Again, we incorporated things such as the reorientation of the car wash facility, the dumpster location, and we really appreciate those efforts. So thank you.
Thank you. It's really heartening to see when the community and our staff and the business owners can come together to such a successful conclusion. It's really rare and a beauty to behold. All right. Anyone else? I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, your pleasure.
I'd move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Good luck with your remodel. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. The next on the agenda tonight is the director's report.
There is no director's report tonight.
Okay, then. Commissioner Communications. Any Commissioner Communications? Oh, boy. We're going to be out of here in no time. Then we will move adjournment to the meeting of March 6th here in the council chambers. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ryan.
Good job, Gail.
Good first.